Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Gaming League 2018. We are back with this year's instalment of the Fantasy Gaming League. As usual, we've got two captains who'll need to cobble together a roster of 10 games and a team to represent half of those games. The aim of the game is for them to pick 10 games each, or end up with 10 games each, that score highly in the reviews. Now, previously we had used GameRankings.com as the scoring. We've binned them and opted for OpenCritic, who are a newer kind of site there, and we've got an account with them and actually put a few reviews up, but they only take scores from genuine publications. Obviously we're not tin pot shit. I did reach out to OpenCritic and see if they wanted to sort of sponsor it, or just say, look, we're using OpenCritic, is there any spiel you want us to put out? No response. So literally blanked me. So
dickheads.
Probably next year go back to Game Rankings maybe. But as I mentioned earlier, it's the aim of the game is to get 10 well-reviewed games in the roster. The slight twist with our Fantasy Gaming League is that the captains can only directly choose 4 of the 10 games, and the other 6 are made up from picks of 3 different team members from the Dimp Digital crew. So not only will the captains be drafting the game picks, but they'll also be drafting the team members. But let's meet the captains for this year. First up, we've got the returning champion. It's the one, it's the only, it's Mr. Hall. How you doing?
Hello. Yeah, having a whale of a time, sir. Glad to be back, defend the title. Prove to everyone that last year was not the total fluke and the total fuck up from Lapdog that allowed me to walk home with my head held high. No, yeah, looking forward to it. Another good year. Enjoy the competition. Looking forward to having a new bit of opposition with it.
Exactly. How confident are you, would you say, in the percentage realm?
I don't really want to put a number to it. It generally goes wrong when I do. I put my name to ukulele last year, so I mean, look how that fucking worked out. I'm more concerned with just not making a total embarrassment of my own picks, because to be fair, last year I was kind of flattered by some good team picks and some shit picks from the other captains. So
that's one way of saying it. Yeah, it's quite dramatic. But 2 blanks from the captain is not great form. The challenger this year has the prestigious award of finishing bottom of the Big Fat Gaming Quiz of 2017. It's Pac-Man himself. It's Tom Adcock. How you doing?
Annoyed, if I'm honest, mate. Didn't know you was gonna put me up against last year's champ.
Yeah, winner stays on. Classic rules, isn't it?
Struggled in the Big Fat Gaming year. Sort of think this will be a nice, easy, friendly thing. No.
This is a fierce
stitch up. Absolute stitch up.
Do you actually know what you're doing? Because I'm not quite sure I've grasped it yet, because there's been a lot of late questions flooded into me.
Oh no, I go into these things with all in my head, I'm like, right, I'm going to really put some time into this, some effort, read the reviews. You send me a few links of last year's quiz. Not done any of that. Just a few last minute questions. Got a post-it note with some games on.
That's it.
I'm here though. I'm ready to do this. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, just a few minor ground rules. No duplicates allowed across the 2 10-game rosters, so it'll be 20 unique games that we'll have. This year we will be introducing a transfer or a substitution system to try and eliminate the league being essentially void if a game is delayed or not released. So there'll be 1 transfer window that the captains can use, and that'll be after E3, and there'll be a penalty of 5 points per transfer. So if you transfer a game out, then you'll lose 5 points off that game's score. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but hopefully we won't have to use it, but it's there if we do need to. And finally, there will be an official individual league this year as well. And the kicker is that, as I mentioned earlier, the priority of their picks is going to be the same order that you guys pick the team in. So you actually have a huge influence over who gets a starting advantage in that league, and whoever you pick last could potentially be left with the crumbs. So remember, you're essentially condemning someone to pick on very late in the show, which could cost them. So the order of the draft will go like this. The captains will draft their first game. After that, it will be down to the team picks that they choose for the next 6. and then the captains will come back for the final 3 to round out the 10-game roster. So the list of team members that you've got to choose from is Adkins, Logan, Paper, Biff, Sir Dave, and Chappers. We need to decide who's going to do the first game pick and who's going to be the first team member pick, and we're going to do a live coin toss, and I'll probably drop this, so just be prepared for a clanging lump of metal as it hits the wooden floor. But Mr. Adcock, as you are the challenger, you can choose heads or tails. Whoever wins this toss can have the option of choosing the first game or having the first team member pick. Whatever you choose, you will keep, and whatever you don't choose will revert over to your opponent. So, Mr. Adcock, heads or tails?
Tails, please.
Tails never fails.
That's what they say.
It hasn't failed, so you can choose. It was tails. There's the coin there being put on the desk. You can choose to have the first game pick or the first team member pick.
Okay, I'm going to go with game pick because I'm not overly familiar with everyone here. I should be, but I'm not. So I figure
you've made the right decision, sir. Because they're all morons. So
trust yourself. Don't worry about the rest of them.
Back your own ability ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we're going to do the first round of picks from the captains, Mr. Adcock, you get the opening pick. What is going to be the number 1 game for this year's 2018 Fantasy Gaming League, please?
Potential gamble, but I'm going to go Red Dead Redemption 2, please.
Yeah, that was the one that stung Lapper last year. He had that in his... I think he had that as his number 1 pick, actually.
Did indeed,
Paul took Zelda and he took Red Dead Redemption 2, and as we know, did not appear. So they said spring this year, but it is Rockstar, so
yeah,
who knows? Are you concerned with that? 'Cause, I mean, if it comes in, I think there's a good chance it'll score well, at least.
Exactly, and it's the beginning of the year, and that's why I checked earlier today that it is an early release, so you got 3 more quarters. I feel like I'd be unlucky if it doesn't come out this year.
Yeah, that's true. It's not like it's queued for Q4 and there's not much time, is there, if there is a delay, so absolutely. Okay then, so Mr. Hall, do you want to choose your first pick for your roster?
Yeah.
Took the easy one off the table there.
Yeah, it really makes things a bit more tricky because it's kind of now we've got the balance up of stuff that's going to get picked by other people compared to what I want myself. I think I'm going to lead out with Shadow of the Colossus.
It's my number 2 pick, annoyingly. It's gone.
That is a dagger to Mr. Adcock's heart. One of his favourite games ever. And
I think it's one of the best. Well, certainly the original was one of the greatest games that's been out in. It's so highly acclaimed, and it's got so many big fans of the franchise, and well, not the franchise, of the game itself. I can't see how they're going to go too far wrong with a remake of such a classic.
I've got a sneaky suspicion as well that it's actually going to review better this year than the original. It looks wonderful, and I feel like it's only got bigger with time, and this is a full complete remake, right? So
yeah, and with a February release date,
it's a banker, really.
Touch words, yeah, exactly. It should be a banker. It's always nice to get some early points on the board.
Yeah, that is a bit of a blower for poor Adcock, but that's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. That will happen. So we actually turn back to you, Hall, because you're actually going to now get to choose your first team member. And bearing in mind, this person will have the advantage in the individual league because they'll get their first available game selected.
So, this is tough. But I think I'm going to stay true to... I mean, I made this pick last year. And I feel confident in the way that he performed last year. I'm going to go with Adkins. I'm going to lead out with Adkins.
Okay. Mr. Adkins is the number 1 pick, so he will have a huge advantage against everyone else.
He really sorted me out with Cuphead last year. I doubted him for it. When it was announced, I was like, what the bloody hell is that? And look at it. Critical Darling. Great little game. He done well last year, did young Master Adkins. So, yeah, pleased to have him on board.
Excellent. Well, you'll be pleased to know that his first game is his first pick. So, it's not something that he's got to go down his list at all. And he's gone for God of War, Sony's exclusive. Rumours have it that it's sometime in March, but not hearing a great deal of information coming out, so we might have to check on that. But it's been cooking a while. I've seen a lot of information and content about it.
Yeah, it was on the list. I think it'll be a solid release. You know, they generally do well. So yeah, not too displeased with that at all.
No, excellent. Mr. Adcock, then you may now choose your first team member to represent.
Well, he's nicked my first choice there as well.
It was that one.
It was Adkins who won the Big Fat Gaming quiz, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one.
That's annoying. Right, okay. In that case, genuinely, definitely second on my list. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Going to go with...
Definitely knows what it is. It's not being done on the fly, obviously. It's really
definitely knows.
Definitely knows. Going to go with the big man Lappers.
Hoping he's learnt his mistakes from last year.
The man who single-handedly sunk the team last year.
The theme of this year's redemption. So.
Okay, so you've got Lapdog, Sir Dave, as he's known as in many circles. Again, he's got a unique game for his first one as well. So he's actually managed to snag you a nice early release in Monster Hunter World.
Yeah. It's the next one on my list as well. So, all right, then.
So you can strike that off of any others that people were potentially having. But yeah, Monster Hunter World's due out. I think it's January 30th. So that'll probably be the first score we have that comes through. So he's definitely not going to score you a blank there, which I think, you know, based on his previous performance, is something that could be brought into question. What do you make of Monster Hunter World? I mean, it's a very popular Japanese game. It's been on handhelds up until recently, so this is a big step for them to take it into the console space.
Yeah, I think it's solid. I think they've always scored well, even though they haven't probably sold well here in the West. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really seen much of it, but I think it will definitely get, I don't know, 85 to 90. I think it's a good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list. I think that's a solid selection there from Sir Dave. I think that was probably going to be on quite a few people's lists, but yeah, good game that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Hall, who's going to be your second member of your crack team, or crap team potentially if they don't perform?
The real shit team. I'll be completely honest. I'm not overly disappointed to have lost out on Lapdog based on last year's performance. So I'm more than happy to be able to, after a safe performance last year. I'm hoping that with the substitutions being involved, he's put the effort in and he knows what he's doing with it. I've got to go for Logan.
Logan.
Mm-hmm.
The man who's finished bottom in every individual rank we've done.
Yeah.
It's an interesting choice. And he's got an interesting game to kick things off and get into your team at number 3. It's Kirby Star Allies.
Oh, don't go down the Nintendo route.
If you're going to do it, make sure it's the proper Nintendo stuff, not something like Kirby, which I don't think has been popular since about 1994.
He's tried to do what Paper did last year, because Paper really hit lucky, I think. But I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I did see that it was coming out. I rejected it as one of my personal picks, but there have been Kirby games in the past that have done incredibly well. The success of the Switch is inevitably going to help out with any Nintendo games that are coming out this year.
Yep.
The game itself doesn't look like a lot of the previous Kirby games that have come out. You know, it's slightly different from the way that it's played. It looks like it's more of a sort of Super Smash Brothers style sort of attack based game. I don't know whether I'm completely off the mark, but from what I've seen of it. So whilst, like I say, it wasn't one that I was going to gamble on myself, I'm not overly displeased with the choice. There's definitely worse. There was worse titles that he could have come out with there. Yeah,
I would agree with that. I mean, it won't be, if we do this on sales, it wouldn't be a good pick, but you know, with that Switch, and they've been developing some good stuff on it. It could be a little sleeper hit. Yes. Out and maybe gets to a similar score of maybe a Splatoon 2, something like that.
I feel like it's definitely got the potential to be a solid low to mid 80s game, and do you know what? If they really perform well with it, perhaps it could creep up to the high 80s, low 90s. But we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Yep, absolutely. Mr. Adcock, who would you like to be the second pick for your team?
Well, I heard he was lucky, so I'm going to go with Mr. Paper.
Paper installed.
Lucky number Paper.
Lucky number Paper indeed. I think he played a smart game last year, but Hall never wanted to give him the credit for it.
It's because he's a moron. He was lucky. He was lucky last year.
And the luck may have run out because he's gone for Shenmue 3. Yeah.
Oh, paper.
May need to use a substitution, Mr. Adcock.
Yeah, it is on my list. It's actually not on my list. It didn't make it. No.
I love Shenmue 1 and 2.
I do. I contemplated it. I thought it crept in there at the bottom, but no. It's a gamble. I mean, it's an unknown. No, but I mean, I think it will come out. Yeah. But I think it's also been 15 years since we saw these games. I mean, I loved the first two, but
yeah,
I don't think they've aged well.
I'm the other way to you. I think if it comes out, it'll do really well. I just don't think it's going to come out in a million fucking years. I don't think that's coming out until mid 2020.
Possibly. It's very likely that could be the scenario.
That is ambitious, but that could be a real fucking dark horse if that comes out. That could absolutely smash it.
Could do. It's
won't.
It could. Mr. Hall, who's going to be the final member of your team?
I'll be honest. I've walked away with my top 3 picks team wise. Wow. I'll take Chappers.
Oh, turns his back on Biff. Unbelievable.
Well, didn't pick him last year. No. I'm pleased with the team that I've ended up with. Chappers done solid again last year. Made some good solid picks from games that I wasn't particularly looking at myself. Like again, Adkins had Cuphead, Chappers had Pyre. Yeah, both done all right. You know, I'd like to say I was in a situation where in reality I was probably the weak link of the team last year. So yeah, I'm pleased with that.
Wonderful. So Chappers has snagged you another early-ish release, or that was slightly pushed out a little bit later, a couple of weeks ago. But it's Far Cry 5.
Yeah,
definitely going to do solid. Yeah, it'll do solid numbers, and it could be one of the better ones. If what people are saying are correct. I'm a little bit worn down by the Far Cry formula, but there'll be plenty of people that aren't. So, by all means, that's a positive pick. It's unlikely not to come out, so you won't have to, take a 5-point penalty and sub something in. But yeah, I think you're onto a decent one there. Mr. Adcock, so you're left now with Biff. I think may have been picked last time as well, from memory.
Him and Paper last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Real lesser of two evils situation.
That'll annoy him when he listens to this, because I know he does take it personally, and obviously he's going to be down the pecking order for the individual picks. But you've got Biff. He went for Red Dead Redemption 2, obviously. He went for Monster Hunter World. Can't get that because Sir Dave's nicked it. And what you've ended up with is worrying. I'll be honest, Hancock.
Go on.
It's We Happy Few.
I've got it on my list, actually. It's here. It's way further down, but...
Yeah.
Now, that game looked awesome about 2 years ago. It looked like Bioshock, and I was thinking, this is going to be great. It come out in early access, and it wasn't anything like Bioshock. It was like a survival game. I'm concerned about that one, if I'm honest.
This is the one set in England, and they take the psychedelic drug. Yeah.
They take the pills that take away the madness. Yeah, it's a really clever premise, but it's been kind of rinsed and repeated as a standard like first-person survival game.
Look, it's not the end of the world. We've got 2 solid picks and 2 kind of dark horses here. It's good work in our favour.
Well, that's the sort of first round over with.
I mean, sorry, just on the We Happy Few. Yeah. I mean, the game that came out, although I don't think many of us particularly liked it, didn't review too badly, or the little bit that came out.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's Gearbox, isn't it? If I remember correctly. Am I right? Or I just made that up.
No, I'll look it up, but
I think it's Gearbox that have released it, and generally, not a bad little publisher. Like, they've done a lot of good. I think that could be, whilst it immediately it doesn't look like it's a great pick, I think that could again be a bit of a dark horse here. I think this is going to be closer than perhaps for my lot have gone for slightly more mainstream big name games, but I think that could be a good little pick on. Well, hopefully it might be anyway for your lot, but as long as it comes out.
Yeah, it's one of those, because it's been in early access for this past year.
A long period, yeah.
There's always a concern that it won't hit 1.0, so you have to make a decision later on down the line, Adcock, whether to keep that at the halfway point if it doesn't look like it is going to come out. But you've got We Happy Few. So after the kind of first round, and we've got Tom Adcock, Sir Dave, Paper and Biff, who have put together Red Dead Redemption 2, Monster Hunter World, Shenmue 3 and We Happy Few. Hall, Adkins, Logan and Chappers have got Shadow of the Colossus, God of War, Kirby, Star Allies and Far Cry 5. We now move into the team members' second picks. So we revert back round to Adkins, and he'll take down the next game that's available. And here's snagged you, Hall. You'll be happy with this one, I think. Spider-Man, Insomniac's PlayStation 4 exclusive. So he's gone for 2 games, only released on the PlayStation. I think that's a good time to get that.
I am a huge fan of that. I am a big fan of that. Spider-Man was one of the ones on my list that I was hoping to pick up. I wasn't sure who was going to pick it up.
Yeah.
I didn't know if any of the lads would pick it up in their picks, so I thought it might be me and Adcock that were battling it out for that one. But yeah, I'm pleased that that's been picked up at number 5. I think that's going to release well. It looks great, and I think that's going to be a good little decision that from Master Adkins. Pleased with that.
Mr. Adcock, is that one that you had on your list and has potentially slipped through the net?
No, I did look at it. I think I can mediocre. It'll review well, I think. I'm going to say it doesn't get more than like low 80s. Can have it. It's yours.
Oh, fighting talk.
Okay, so we move over to Sir Dave. I like this pick a lot, and it's because I've just played through the prequel in the last couple of months. Review coming soon. But Sir Dave, Mr. Adcock, has snagged you Yakuza 6.
Lovely. As my next one.
Yeah, I think that's
a
decent. Well, that's a very.
I think that's very solid. Yeah.
One thing I find with the Yakuza games is that those who are given to review it are normally fans of the series.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
It's not something you just give to just random people. Like, I always see that people had a history of it. And I think it's one of those games where you need to have an idea of what you're expecting. Because when I put Yakuza 0 in whatever time it was, October to start it, it's fucking bizarre. It really is. Nothing I've ever played. But once you kind of get into the world and you kind of accept it for what it is, and that it is going to break all the different rules that you typically have around a video game, then it's a joy to play. So that could be a very, very good one there. So we now move to Hall's second team member, which was Logan. And he's got you something that I've got my eye on. Something that I definitely think is a very interesting idea. The guy who's kind of developing it and leading the charge is an absolute nutcase. But he's got you A Way Out, Mr. Hall.
All right, okay.
No?
Another one. I'll be honest, I had it on my list as a question mark because I was worried about release. There's not a huge amount that's been put in solid, as in a set release date or anything, but it looked interesting. Bit of a mix, bit of an unknown entity, really.
Risky.
Yeah, it is a risk, but I'd rather the team members took the risk and gave me the opportunity to stub stuff out than it's me taking the risk at 9 and 10, So it could be a good pick. It could be a horror show.
Yeah, not a problem. Mr. Paper, for your next pick, Mr. Adcock, he's given you Civilization 6 Rise and Fall expansion. So
right.
There's a risk that it won't get scored separately on OpenCritic, but I think generally they do, especially with Civilization expansions. Civ 6, very well received. Surely a bit of DLC will be all right, wouldn't it?
You'd think so. I mean, to be honest, this is totally alien to me. I know the Civ games. I've never touched them. Don't ever look at reviews. I've got no idea. But yeah, if you say it's solid, then yeah, DLC generally goes down. Well, I'm assuming goes down fairly well. I didn't know we could do this, but I like it.
Yeah, if the what's the name's there, if the page is separate, and it usually is, then you absolutely can. So
No, wicked. I'm happy with that then.
My concern with that is that the Civilization games have generally had quite a large modding community that have got involved with them. Civ 5 was basically made by the mods that it had that went with it. And obviously they came out as bits and pieces that were free extras that people could download if they had the nous to obviously install the mods and get it up and running. How well... I mean, Civ 6, like you say, has done well so far. I just hope people look forward to the DLC as opposed to people just getting their hands on it and making their own mods for it that are, you know, gonna improve the game itself. So we'll have to wait and see with that one. But like you say, I think the Civ games have done well, and that one is an especially good one by the sounds of things. It's done better than Civ 5 did initially. So we'll have to wait and see. But I don't think that's a bad shout from paper.
No, we're certainly not. So we go to Chappers on your team, Hall, and he used to be the final team member pick. And he has landed you a game called Lost Sphere, which I'm not overly familiar with. I know it's due to release a few days from now. So
I had this on my list.
Yeah.
This was going to be one of my picks between numbers 7 and 10. I am very interested by this little game because I hadn't really heard much about it before, and it was only in sort of doing a bit of research for this quiz that I looked into it.
Yes.
People are comparing it to Chrono Trigger.
Right, that's a good comparison to have.
Exactly. There's definitely worse games that you could be put up against. So I'm confident with that. I was a little bit worried that it may not come out, but seemingly it's already been released in Japan.
Yeah.
And it's been received incredibly well. So I think that is a clever little pick. It's coming out on the Switch and PS4.
Yeah.
And again, I think for the Switch, that game is going to absolutely sting everyone. January release date. Yeah, like I say, pleased with that.
So yeah, you're right. It is out in Japan. I've gone on the Open Critic page. I've already checked it before, and there's no score for it yet. So you'll be completely valid to have that when it drops in the West in the 23rd. So that's a similar thing with Yakuza 6. That's already been out in Japan, and when it comes over to the Western parts is when we get our scores. So maybe he's done a little bit of research to look into that, and picked up maybe a little hidden gem.
Yeah.
One for Switch owners to look out for. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Adcock, the final team member pick is courtesy of Mr. Biff. And he's given you a game I must admit I'm not familiar with, but it's a game called Agony. And it's,
Yeah, I saw. I'd look at this, yeah.
Any good?
Looks alright, it looks nuts. You're like a devil or something trying to get out of hell, and you can possess people.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like proper horror. So, yeah,
Right.
do you know what? It could be a fucking absolute turd, but I had me interested, so why not? I'm happy, yeah, fuck it.
Super. Right, so that's the team picks that have been done for you. We're going to get 3 picks off of you each now, and just go through the teams quickly. Mr. Adcock, you've got Red Dead Redemption 2, Monster Hunter World, Shenmue 3, We Happy Few, Yakuza 6, Civilization 6, Rise and Fall, and Agony. Mr. Hall, you've got Shadow of the Colossus, God of War, Kirby Star Allies, Far Cry 5, Spider-Man, A Way Out, and Lost Sphere. So we now move into the final captain's picks, 3 each, and revert back to Mr. Adcock, who will get the first kind of choice in this mini draft. What's going to be your second captain pick, Mr. Adcock?
Okay, I'm going to go for another. I feel like it's a banker. It's definitely coming out, and it should score well. Bayonetta 2 remake, Switch.
Switch version, yeah. I mean, we know it's performed well on the Wii U, so why would it perform worse on the Switch?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Gets a bit of the Mario Kart Deluxe love and just reviews just as well, if not slightly better. And I feel like it's definitely coming out. They're they're working on Bayonetta 3, aren't they? So I feel like 1 and 2 need to come out this year, really.
Yeah, I think they need to get that package out, definitely. Mr. Hall, what's going to be your captain pick?
This is a tough one because I'm surprised at how many games have been left out of those early picks. If I'm completely honest,
There's plenty, isn't there?
there is quite a lot of big name ones.
It's good. Everyone's. Also, I won't tell you what everyone's list has got, but it's very diverse. Other than like a couple, I'm really impressed with how far some people have delved into looking and finding out games that potentially others haven't got. It's actually good this year.
Yeah.
But there's no there is obviously others out there that I thought would have definitely been in the top sort of picks of people, but it's you can now set off a chain of events where you pick stuff that Adcock was looking to pick and steal it off him, and vice versa. That's where it can get interesting.
Yeah, so it's whether I take a bit of a risk or whether I go reasonably safe. I think I'm going to take a bit of a risk. Go for a game that I'm pretty sure is going to come out, but it's going to be a tough one as to how it reviews. And I'm going to go for Detroit Become Human.
Yeah. I've got it's on my radar. I love these games that David Cage develops under Quantic Dreams. They don't always review well. If you look at Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls.
Yeah, surprising that Heavy Rain didn't do well because I know that was a while ago now, but at the time everyone was kind of like, oh, it's a really, really clever idea, really, really intelligent the way that it works and the way that it plays out, etc. So I'm hoping that one does well because it's a game that's been on my radar and I'd quite like to play, I think, as well.
Yeah, it's one I'm definitely going to play. I mean, even if it's not reviewed well, I just love those sort of games. So it's like a high-budget Telltale game, which speaks to me for sure. Mr. Adcock, your next pick, please.
Okay, I might gamble as well then. Have some fun. I'm going to go...
That's not a gamble at all from him. He's just trying to mind the game.
No, that's fine. It's fine. I'm up. I've got a couple... I've got a couple of ones I feel solid coming out, should review well. Well, Red Dead, maybe not, who knows. But someone had to get it. So, third pick, I'm going to go for, I'm hoping you know this one, Apps, because you're a fan of the studio, Vampire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, spelt with a Y, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if you pronounce it Vampire, but I'm assuming you do.
Yeah, I'm going with that because I don't want to deal with their messy way of pronouncing it. But yeah, Don't Nod Studios, who did Life is Strange. Stepping out of that realm and doing something completely different, much more action orientated. Looks really interesting though, how you interact with the world and the NPCs, and yeah, has potential for sure. Must say personally, it looked a little bit ropey on the action front, but that's not their specialty. Maybe if they've got a good story and some good, consequences for your actions and flexible gameplay, it'll score well. But yeah, great pick, Mr. Hall. Number 9.
I think I am going to go for Darksiders 3.
Yeah. Yes.
It's on my list as well. Yeah. It's there, yeah.
It's another one of he's stolen 2 of them, Shadow of the Colossus and Darksiders.
Yeah.
My favourite game series has been stolen. Yes. So are you actively now rooting for them to do poorly? It's just
I don't want to play it. I don't want to enjoy it. I don't want anything to do with it.
He'll be going back and go, Shadow Colossus isn't the best game ever made. It's shit, honestly.
I'm just hoping it's like a question of or an answer of just slightly diminished returns with this franchise. Isn't it? It's a slightly different studio, or someone bought it or something, and they've got some of the team, or... Yeah. Basically, I had some question marks when I was reading about the development. I was just like, could be a stinker. But I'm well up for it, and I'm looking forward to it. But
yeah, I mean, it was THQ Nordic picked it up as a publisher who kind of rose out of the ashes of THQ. And I think was it Virgil Games that maybe done the first one? I can't remember. I'll have to look it up and go through it all, but they'd certainly done Darksiders and Darksiders 2, I believe. But Gunfire Games have now ended up developing it. I don't know whether that company's made up of people from Virgil Games or if it's one of those jobbies where some have moved over. But yeah, it's one of your that was one of your dark horses. I remember when we did our greatest games of all time. Little Darksiders being on there, Zelda clone. So be interesting to see how that one pans out. Mr. Hall, what's your thinking behind that one? Have you had your eye on it, or do you found the series?
I haven't played the series, if I'm completely honest with you, but I know the first two have been well received and have reviewed reasonably well. I don't know loads about them, and it's more that I'm on my list. There's a lot of games that were sort of Q4 releases, which because we've got the substitution piece in place, you can take a bit of a punt on those. But then my thinking is just, I know that Darksiders 3 is probably going to rock me a solid, even if it does reasonably poorly, I think it'll still achieve 80 to 85. And then
this stage of the draft is decent scores when
and you know what? What's the chances of me subbing it in for a game that's gonna, or like if I'd have picked another one, if subbing in for a game that's gonna score 90, So I'm like I say, I'm quite pleased with that as a pick. I think it's a great one to pick up at number 9, to be honest.
Yeah, I think last year you got Horizon Zero Dawn at 9.
Yeah,
ludicrous, which was scandalous.
A real steal, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Adcock. Your final pick to round out the 10-game roster. It may all hinge on this, so...
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm going to just play it safe, really. I feel like this is definitely coming out. Slightly different name. It's a remake, but a new name hopefully definitely gets a new review on your little new website. It's Super Meat Boy Forever Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that like I can't exactly work out what that is. It like a definitive edition of it, or is it like a?
I feel like it. Yeah, levels? I think it might have some new levels. I don't know, but I feel like that game is built for the Switch. It reviewed really well, and I feel like again, there's nothing you would think can go wrong with the port, and maybe it'll even go up a notch or two because I feel like that is its spiritual home without even knowing it when they made it.
Yeah, no, it's just looking up, actually doing a little bit of research here. It's coming out on other platforms as well, so it'll be available.
Oh, right,
elsewhere.
cool.
And it looks like it's going to be a fully fledged sequel. So, it's going to be unique stuff in there. And I think generally the formula for Super Meat Boy won't have changed. It was good back then. Why shouldn't it be good now? But
I love doing this because every time Adcock picks a game, I then go, well, my concerns with it are, and try and put the buffers on him. But in all seriousness, my concerns with that one are because I got fucking caught out with this in previous years. It's also releasing on iOS and Androids, and
for fuck's sake,
they do have a habit of bringing down the average and really screwing you over if they put some bag of shit port on it for mobile devices. But that said, again, like you've said, I feel like Super Meat Boy is suited to the Switch, and it's not like it needs loads of processor power, so they could go the other way of it producing a fucking quality port for mobile devices, and they're the scores that drag it up because people say, well, it's not a PS4 game, it's a mobile game,
Yeah.
It's be interesting to see because things like this will definitely. I'll be keeping an eye on OpenCritic. Obviously, it's a little bit of an experiment using them to see how they handle things like that. Whether they're all bundled into one score, whether they will do separate versions. It depends, I guess, how different the mobile versions and the Switch and the PlayStation versions are. But you might be in the case where the mobile versions don't release to 2019, so they're not going to impact this. So. But yeah, it's definitely something that's caught people out in the past. Is other versions stinging the aggregate down. Hall, your final pick, and then finally we will get to the stage where we've got 20 unique games and 10 on each team, and we can run through the list. What is your final pick for the Fantasy Gaming League of 2018?
Of my 10 games that I set aside for this, I have still got 5 that are available. Out of my 10 that I initially put down, and it's just a question of which one I want to go with. How much of a risk do I want to take?
Yeah.
And because we have got the substitution system in place, and although I've kind of gone risky with a couple, I've still gone for stuff that I'm banking on being released. I am going to take a real shock punt here, and I am going to go for Anthem.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think is a bit of a risk.
Yeah.
But I want to see the E3 updates and see where we're at, because the short bits of gameplay or the footage they've shown, it looks fucking awesome. But it may well not come out this year. I have a feeling that provisionally they've said Q4, which always says Q1 next year, Q2 next year.
Yeah.
I'm worried, but I figure why the fuck not? Let's have a bit of a go at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, it's one that's got a lot of hype behind it without us really knowing what to expect from it. The gameplay they released did look fucking awesome at E3. It's not.
Yeah.
Let's be honest there. It's the BioWare A team doing it, so not the same guy that did Andromeda, but
no,
the big guns they've pulled out and EA have put on this.
Yeah.
Here's my only concern with that, and why I wouldn't have made one of my lists, is I feel like that game is it feels like, from what everyone's saying, it's a very much like a Destiny time sync game. You know, there's lots of cooperative missions and all this sort of drop in, drop out, and doing loads of good stuff. I really feel like PUBG has moved the landscape slightly, where games like
towards the battle royale style.
where putting days of effort into Anthem or a Destiny to continue grinding might not be what everyone's after. Next year's flavour could be, I want to drop in and drop out battle royale game.
Yeah,
progression's essentially not there, but interesting to see. Some notable absentees, I mean, we'll run through the final list in a second, but shocked not to see Ni no Kuni 2 in there, gotta say. Due to release earlier this year. It's a Japanese role-playing game.
Oh, yeah.
Shocked not to see that in the initial list.
Right.
Sea of Thieves, obviously zero confidence from the board there. That's been completely dropped by everyone.
That was the second game that I wrote down, and it was going to be the last one that I picked, basically.
Yeah. No FIFAs, which is good, I think, because we know.
No, yeah.
I had it there as a massive backup. It was never really going to use it.
I basically wrote Call of Duty, FIFA, NFL, NHL, Madden, whatever. I had all of them written down as just if I get desperate.
Yeah, they'll be there. Again, no Call of Duty, obviously, in that either. No Crackdown 3, so obviously no one's been interested in seeing.
I forgot it. I had it on the page, but yeah, that's a risk on it.
Yeah, that is a risk. No State of Decay 2, which I'm personally excited about. Which is due out this year, but not a lot of Microsoft representatives there.
No.
Lots of PlayStation 4 stuff. Shadow of the Colossus, God of War, Spider-Man, Detroit Become Human. That's Shenmue 3 if it comes out. Yakuza 6. Very little. I don't think there's any Xbox exclusive stuff there. I think it's all multi-platform or PlayStation 4.
Yeah. Well, what does that tell you? Yeah.
Absolutely. Right, I'll run through the final 10 roster teams for the pair of you, and then we'll just do the formalities of naming your team, which I forgot to tell Mr. Adcock. So if you think of a name on the fly now, and be ready in a couple of minutes. But Mr. Adcock's team is Red Dead Redemption 2, Monster Hunter World, Shenmue 3, We Happy Few, Yakuza 6, Civilization 6 Rise and Fall, Agony, Bayonetta 2, Switch, Vampire, Super Meat Boy Forever. Mr. Hall has got Shadow of the Colossus, God of War, Kirby Star Allies, Far Cry 5, Spider-Man, A Way Out, Lost Sphere, Detroit Become Human, Darksiders 3, Anthem. Mr. Adcock, are you relatively happy with what you've got there?
Yeah, I am actually, mate. I think there's a lot of
over the fence at what Hall's got going on. Could have had a couple of those, actually.
Oh yeah, no, I'd like to do a little bit of switching, but overall, I'm all right. It's not shambles, which that's the big worry early on, isn't it? Really, it's January. You don't want to be
you don't want to be out of the race.
I am happy, mate. Yeah.
And you think that in particular that you would choose from Hall's team and take over? Not saying replace something on your team, but if you could have something out of there, what would you like to have in an ideal world?
Shadow of the Colossus for sure. I think that's. I've got a real feeling it's going to do really well. I think time's been really kind to it. It's really got some momentum, and I feel like the remake that came out on PS3, I feel like maybe still got skipped over. This looks, I feel like even all my nephews and that, they're only kids and they're all like well looking forward to it. So yeah, I just think it's going to do really well and it's definitely coming. So yeah, and it's one of my favourite games, so I'd like to have had it score well for me too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Mr. Hall, happy with your team and happy with your picks?
Yeah, I mean, looking down the list of 10 games that I've ended up with, I don't know whether this is good picking from me in terms of team members or bad picking from me in terms of team members, but other than 2 games on there, they're all games that I had in my top 10. I appreciate I've picked 4 of them, but 4 out of the 6 picks from my team members are games that I had in my top 10 as well, and the 2 that weren't would have been replaced by Red Dead and Monster Hunter. So, you know, I feel like I've done all right, all things considered. I'm quite pleased with the games that have come in. The only one that sort of that worries me slightly is Kirby Star Allies, and then potentially Anthem might be a non-starter completely. But I'm hoping that I've got enough backups that it shouldn't be a problem if I need to sub it out later in the year.
To be fair, Kirby's due a comeback.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
He's due one. Anything on Adcock's team that you'd like to have on your team, looking over the fence?
Well, like I say, Red Dead and Monster Hunter, I think, are obviously going to do well. Shenmue 3 is just absolutely mental. And otherwise, a lot of the other games were ones that I thought we were going to be fighting it out for at numbers 7 through 10. I'll be honest. Like I say, I'm more than happy with the situation that's worked out for me with regards to the games that I've got. I'm pleased that people have. Like I say, I don't know, because last year I did fucking terribly in the individual ranks, so maybe it's not a good thing that they picked the games that I want, and Adcock rather, sorry, keep doing that, is going to romp home with it. But yeah, it'd be interesting. I feel like we've got 20 good games listed out. I'll be honest, there's still a lot of games that I've got on my list that we haven't even talked about.
Yeah, what were you left with?
So I had Sea of Thieves, which we obviously touched on. Yeah. I had Metro Exodus. Yeah. Which is a Q4, which made me hesitate about it. I had The Crew 2, which I was worried about being a bag of shit. I think this will fucking review so well, but I'm just worried about it not coming out, which is Mega Man 11.
Yeah, I had that. Yeah.
I had Soul Calibur 6.
Yeah.
The Walking Dead final season and The Wolf Among Us 2, which are both planned to come out, and I think both of them will review well. And then I had a few mental ones. I had Crackdown 3. I had Days Gone. Did we have Days Gone come out? No, we didn't.
I had that as well. Yeah.
No one had that.
Strange one, isn't it?
And then I saw Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove, because Toe Jam and Earl 1 got fucking, the original got fucking absolute rave reviews, and then I looked at Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove, and it looks fucking absolutely dog shit. It looked fucking terrible. So I was like, right, well, scrap that off my list then in that case. But yeah, I'm surprised at some of the picks from the other boys. Is there any other games that they had on their lists that kind of we haven't touched on or mentioned? Or did you have anything Adcock on your list?
The ones I've got we haven't spoke about at all are Moss, which was a VR game. Apparently that's meant to be pretty good. I don't know anything about it though.
It's on lists. It's on a list actually, which I'm impressed with.
Yeah, Secret of Mana, remake of the Super Nintendo game. I think that... it'll probably do all right, yeah. No More Heroes 2, I think it is, or 3. Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Bloodstained, which is by the team behind Castlevania, that little Metroidvania game.
Yeah.
And Psychonauts 2 was my last one we haven't touched on.
That'll be fucking... That'll review really, really well.
Yeah.
So it's got such a cult following for that game. Whether the cult following is within the reviewers, though, is what I was kind of semi-worried about with that. But yeah, that's a great shout. If it comes out, I think that will probably do well.
There is the concern about Psychonauts 2 is that they don't expect it to be released until next year.
That's what I was worried about. I saw it as Q4 and I just thought it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Nah.
It's a bit, I think they've road mapped it and said it's unlikely, but you never know. But you can't. Yeah, it's hard to put that sort of stuff in. Excellent. Mr. Adcock, before we sign off, I need you to name your team. So you've got Sir Dave, Paper, Biff, and yourself leading it. Have you got a name that you thought up of on the fly to label you and your merry men?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, excellent.
8 legs, 6 legs.
Oh dear. That's off the office, obviously, for those that are interested. Try and sneak that in where we can. Thought he was going to go for Dr. Wankenstein left out. Hall, last year you recalled Team Achievement. Is that going to be the name for this year? Or will there be a new rebranding of the Hall team?
Yeah, it's going to be a rebranding. Last year, achievements were my my primary concern when it came to video games. And as I've spoken to a couple of the lads within the Dimp group, I've set myself some new gaming targets for this year. So this year, we're going to become Team Speedrun to reflect my current indulgence in attempting to get into speedrunning.
Team Speedrun. Love it. Great. Right, that's all I need from you, Pet. So thanks very much for taking time out of your evening to draft that. I'm going to go away and run through I've got a list of fucking 60 games here from people from all the team members. So I need to go away and bring out the individual, list and how that's going to work. So I will post that and it will come at the end of this. So it will seem like nothing's happened, but I'll be in the background editing and I'll solo the rest of it and explain that to everyone. But Mr. Hall and Mr. Adcock, thanks very much for joining me on the Fantasy Gaming League for 2018, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, no worries.
See you, mate.
So here we are, the reveal ceremony for the individual Fantasy Gaming League that is going on. As mentioned earlier in the feature, the order, or the priority order for each of the contestants was decided by the captain's pick. So the order that we have is Adkins, then Sir Dave, then Logan, then Paper, then Chappers, and finally Biff. So I'm just going to reveal each of the games that the players have got. And I've basically, the list of games they've given me are between 15 and 20 games for the year, and I'm pulling out every unique game that's possible. So I've gone through the drafts thick and thin and gone as far as I can until we get to a stage where there's no more games left and everyone's ended up with the same number of games on their roster. It's important that some people don't have 10 games whilst other people only have 8. So at the point at where someone wasn't able to draft the next round, I stopped it, and we managed to get up to 8 games. So 6 lots of 8 individual games, a fantastic turnout, and some real diversity in the list. So it was really pleasing to see. So let's reveal the list. I will go in the starting order of the draft so you can see. So as we know, Adkins was first, and Adkins managed to snag himself God of War, Spider-Man, Dreams, Concrete Genie, In the Valley of the Gods, Days Gone, Metro Exodus, and Metal Gear Survive. So that's Adkins's team list there that is going to be representing him. As we know, there are substitutes. So if some of those don't come in, we will be handling that later on post E3. Sir Dave, he managed to snag himself Monster Hunter World, Yakuza 6, Sea of Thieves, Detroit Become Human, Fortnite, Soul Calibur 6, Sky, and the Nintendo Switch Fire Emblem game. Logan got himself Red Dead Redemption 2, Kirby Star Allies, A Way Out, State of Decay 2, Football Manager 2019, Immortal Unchained, Anthem, and Fee, I cannot pronounce this, but it's just spelled F-E. I've seen the game, looks very interesting. Paper has got Shenmue 3, Civilization 6 Rise and Fall expansion, World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth expansion, Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom, Bloodborne 2, Psychonauts 2, Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, and The Last of Us Part 2. Mr. Chappers has got himself Far Cry 5, Lost Sphere, Skull and Bones, Mega Man 11, Yoshi, Metroid Prime 4, The Walking Dead, the final season, Tropico 6. And Biff finally rounds out the league with We Happy Few, Agony, Moss, Shadow of the Colossus, Ace Combat 7, Dragon Ball Fighter Z or Z, Crackdown 3, and FIFA 19. So there you have it. That's the individual league. This is completely separate to the team league. So if you're wondering why games like Red Dead Redemption and Shadow of the Colossus are in there, it's because the individuals are not competing against the captains and their picks. So this is a completely separate league. The only influence from the team picks is the ordering, which has screwed over perhaps a couple of people. But I think there's some really strong lists there, and the introductions of the substitutions means it's going to be alive until hopefully the end of the year when we get some more release dates and we know how things are shaping up. So really looking forward to this year's Fantasy Gaming League. And obviously, as always, thanks for everyone for taking part in this. They've taken time out of their day to give me these lists and study and come up with some real cracking effort, I find. But that's it. That concludes the drafts of the Fantasy Gaming League for 2018. We'll be sure to check in momentarily throughout the year. Probably will wait until until E3 has passed, because there's a lot of bits and pieces that come out there, and that's when we're planning on opening the substitute or the transfer window. So we'll cross that bridge when it comes, but be sure to check in with us and track these games. I think it's going to be an interesting ride. Nothing more for us to say though, apart from thanks for your time and ta-da.